Are you ready to supercharge your wealth and unlock the power of passive income? Welcome to this episode of Dividend Discussion, where we embark on an enriching journey through the realm of dividend investing. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, this series is a gateway towards invaluable insights and firsthand experiences that will propel you towards financial independence. Join me as we dive deep into the minds of others in the dividend investing space that are eager to share their stories, mistakes, triumphs, and life-changing lessons. In each episode, we unlock the secrets of successful dividend investing, ensuring you can sidestep costly pitfalls and chart your own path towards financial freedom. Sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in this captivating episode of Dividend Discussion. Hey guys, Editing Troy here. I wanted to let you know, for whatever reason, OBS did not take any of my audio from the whole conversation, but what I did is I went through and cut out all the silence that I was providing, and John's conversation is in here by himself, but he had such good information that he was providing you guys. I didn't want to deprive you guys of that information. So hopefully everything will be up and back and running for the next interview. But without further ado, here's the interview.
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Troy. Definitely, I appreciate it. It's a nice, humbling experience. Plus, also, I hope I can be a little bit of inspiration for some of your viewers out there. So I'm John, and live in Oregon currently. So I'm in the United States, and I am just under 25. So I'm 24 right now, so pretty young. Oh, let's see. My dividend journey, where I'm at. I just finished up 5 years in the Navy. So I got out of the military and left, obviously honorably. And I'm actually going to be working for a big power company that supplies all the wholesale power for the Northwest. So it's called Bonneville Power Administration. And so through that, I'll be doing substation electrician work. Goodness, my income and my lifestyle, everything else has changed dramatically. Well, I'll put it this way: my income has changed dramatically. I'm easily 3-4xing my income and then some, and I was already saving like 70% of my income or so, keeping my expenses low. So like I don't have any credit card debt. I don't have any type of loans. The only loans that I'll get in the near future are for my real estate and like long-term cash flowing or midterm rental properties. So MTRs, those are really nice. There's actually a really good book on that. It's called 30 Day Stay. If your viewers want, they can check that out on Amazon. I really enjoyed that myself. I'm still reading it too, parts of it. Another good one to check out is The Income Factory. I liked reading that. That may be good for your viewers. And kind of where I'm at is I started finding out about dividends, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. You can get something from a stock. And, I think everybody in that first fallacy is like, let me go with the highest yield before they know what they're investing in, right? And that was kind of my fallacy only for a short while. And then I found PPCE on YouTube. And then I ended up finding Gen X, like when he was first starting out, but I found PPCE and I really liked his videos and I could relate. And so then I started looking at, okay, well, let me look at some actual solid fundamentals and companies, start digging into the numbers instead of just looking at like the screenshot of like the fact sheet, right? That just tells you like the 52-week high and low and all this and the PE. I was like, what the heck's a PE, right? And I guess let me backpedal. The thing that got me inspired was my grandfather into investing. It's kind of weird in the sense he never taught me to like invest when he was alive, but it was after he passed, he gave me some of the greatest knowledge after the fact, which he didn't actually give to me in person, right? And that was he passed away, and if you add up all of his assets and everything, he was a millionaire, a few times over, and very humble guy. You would never have guessed it. And so it got me to open up my Roth IRA when I was in high school. I was a senior in high school. I said, man, I should open that up. And I started maxing it out right away that year. And the reason I was able to do that is because I worked part-time as well. And then I also, was helping around the farm as well. We ended up having to move my senior year. So it was kind of, everything was all up in the air and whatnot, kind of chaotic and crazy. But I found dividends were going to be a big part of my future, I guess, or at least play a part, right? Besides real estate, investing in some art, doing some tax-free insurance contracts, also doing a few other strategies as well. Plus I own, I hedge against stuff. So I have like precious metals and other things. I guess I found that it was going to be part of my strategy, probably, a couple of years into probably a year and a half into the military, year and a half, 2 years. And then like I said, I went through that first phase and then I learned And then I started teaching myself. And then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And then I read all these other books, and I just started learning from like Tom Wheelwright, Tax-Free Wealth. That's a really good book, by the way. He also came out with a new book. I think it's like this. It's like something like 7 Pillars of Wealth or something, or no, 7 Investments the Government will pay you to make, by Tom Wheelwright. That was a really good investment book. My tax CPA, he was actually part of his firm, which is the largest in the nation in its wealth ability. My CPA is Beeman and Company, and he's got over 100 episode podcast he started a year ago, and he's also got quite the network as well if you guys want to check that out. I don't get anything for that, but like he's solid. Like he's so I wouldn't put his name out there. So if you go on Beeman and Company, look it up on Google, you can find his company, and you can find his podcast through there, or his podcast, you look it up, it's called the Wealth Game Podcast, and they're only like 5 to 15-minute videos, and they're just, like I said, they're audio, and they have solid advice on there and solid, things to basically teach everyday people. Like it dumbs it way down, right? And this isn't, don't take this as like any like negative connotation when I'm saying that, because like even for me, like some of the stuff I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm learning, right? I'm always learning. So I guess for your listeners, where I'm at in my stage is I stopped my last YouTube video. I did have a little mini channel I did just kind of for fun as a hobby. It was called Dividend Journey, and I made my last video on there, I don't know, probably just under a month ago. And I basically told my, anybody viewing, I was like, hey, this is the last video for a while. The next time I see you guys on the flip side, I'm going to go and I'll be a millionaire. And then maybe I'll come back to you, whether that's through a TED Talk or maybe I come back and make a channel and teach you guys how I did it. But I want to dedicate my individual time to, working on my own business stuff and working on my own profession and all the other things, because I got a hectic life now, which not to say it wasn't before, but now I want to use my time more wisely. So doing this meeting, I viewed it as a necessity in some degree, because it was a way for me to potentially inspire or answer a few questions that could potentially spark some type of inspiration. And even just one person watching is fine. I look at it as like, as I go through my journey and as I learn all these different things, it's kind of like almost like a God-given duty, almost, that like I have to pay it forward. It's kind of like pay it forward, right? And like, who was that? Will Smith, I think it was. Anyways, I remember watching that show or that movie, years ago when I was in economics class, actually, and it was good. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, though. I know that was a little bit everywhere, but that covered a lot of different things. I actually got a book that I'm making and writing, working on publishing, although it's far in the works, and it's going to be a complete encyclopedia on investments, from dividend investments to real estate to owning artwork to owning certain passive incomes, different precious metals. If you want to invest in that, maybe some derivatives, options, what they are. Nothing crazy though, because with that I don't particularly care for options as much. I've done it. And then I'll probably also go into, some other assets and different entity structuring and taxes as well. I like taxes a lot, because taxes and business structuring, well, taxes, let me first off, that's one of your greatest expenses in life. So if you can find a way to legally do what the government wants you to do through your business and growing, and reduce your tax liability and use it to grow your business even more, I mean, you'd have to be a fool not to do that. So, I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at. And another thing I want to mention also that I forgot to mention earlier is, to the viewers, by the way, I'm not, I'm more of like a blue collar guy. So like when I graduated high school, I did graduate with my honors, and I could have went to college and all of this, but I didn't want to do that. And the reason why is because I like the trades. And so I grew up on a farm. I know it's backpedaling a little bit, but I like using my brain, but I also like working and seeing what I can build. And so, and electricity, electrical, all that kind of stuff kind of inspired me. It's always neat because it's something you can't see, but it's something everybody needs. And so you flip that switch. I mean, we need electricity right now that we're filming this, right? So, anyways, for me, it's nice because it's a good service that I can provide to people, right? Um, but yeah, so like I guess what I'm getting at here is for anybody watching this that may be sitting in high school or whatever, you have so many other options, and and you don't have to just go with the stigma of go to college and pray and hope that that works out. And I'm saying it that like that, even though I know people that are very successful that got a degree. Like for example, um, my sister, she went and she got her doctorates, and she got scholarships, and she worked her ass off a lot. Excuse me, you may have to cut that out, I guess. But anyways, um, but she did it the right way, right? So she didn't end with debt, and um, and she, has a pretty good contract she's doing with a college. It's not her final career, job yet, but she's a botanist, and so she does plant diseases and everything. Um, and so, like, if you're going to do college, that's the way to do it if you can. Now, I know that's not possible for everybody, but that's the way. But there's so many trades out there, guys. I mean, I'm just saying, I know multiple people that are in the trade. And, like, for example, what I'm going to be doing, like, I'm not ashamed to admit that I'm doing a program that hopefully I'll be getting journeyman wages, even though I'm just starting through like my apprenticeship. And the only reason I'm able to be like able to get that is just it's a special military program when you separate. But I'm still in the process of applying for it and getting it. But if that comes through, I mean, even if it doesn't come through, I'm looking at anywhere from like on the lowest low end at like just like 90 to 200,000 a year just in my job. And then of course I'm going to be investing a lot, right? And so like for me, you have to figure too a portion of that's tax free. So if that comes through for my program as well, I mean that's a good chunk, probably a third of my paycheck that'll be tax free on the upper end. Um, and then also, figuring I don't have really any big monthly expenses. Like I own everything outright. So I have like a travel trailer. I stay in my 23-foot Jayco. It's called my travel trailer, my tiny home, right? Either one. Um, it's everything I need and more. Like I don't need anything crazy. I keep it in very good condition. It's like new, right? I've done work to the inside and everything. It's got everything I need, and I even got a queen bed in there. So there's not much more that I could hope for. And like it's got a like an actual like house type mattress, so it's not like the ones they come with. It's more comfortable than the guest bedroom in my dad's house. And yeah, I just don't have a desire to have a mansion, right? Like some people like they want to live in a mansion. Like me, like I look at a mansion and it just disgusts me. I'm like, I could never live there. So like I'm very simple in the sense, but I probably save, I don't know. Like when I start for example, I'm starting my position. I'm going over there tomorrow actually. So I'm very excited. And it's quite a commitment, of course, but it I would probably say, aside from taxes that I'll end up paying, but I'll find ways, like for example, like through my businesses, through like my real estate investments, I'll be able to make that tax efficient. So even if I'm not getting full tax efficiency through my W-2, I can at least make my business income efficient, which I've already established those entities. Um, I guess I would say um, the biggest thing is probably just look at your situation and how you can improve it and then take it a step further. Okay, so like for me, like going into my new income and my new everything, I'm not changing my lifestyle, guys. I'm keeping my lifestyle the same and I'm investing everything, the rest. So my real investment ratio probably now, I mean, once I got everything paid, which by the way, I've made horrible mistakes in the past, which we can cover that here. You could probably ask me next or something, but um, essentially now I'm at the point where I probably can reasonably save and invest probably about 70 to 90% of my income, which is insane. I know somebody watching this is probably like, "Oh, that's not possible," right? Or they may say, "Oh, that's not possible," or maybe, "Oh, I don't make 100 or 200 a year," right? Or whatever. But it's all in your mindset because the thing about it is like I started out like I got out of high school, I went into the trades, and like I wasn't making that, but I went away from home and everything, and before I went into the military, I did that for just under a year, and I was willing to live in my pickup, like in the back of my pickup, but I got a little older travel trailer, and my dad was kind enough to where I made a deal with him. Um, but like I was fully willing to just live in the back of my truck. Like I got a canopy and I was ready to go, and I was willing to do whatever it took. And this is before I even decided I wanted to grow like a real estate empire, so to speak, and other stuff. And this is just like, oh, okay, I'm doing a Roth IRA, and that's all I knew at the time. And I had it through Edward Jones, and I didn't know other than the fact that I was contributing a certain amount every month, right? And oh, it could be worth however many, a couple $1 million when I retire, right? But that was it. But like I've come from that to where I am now. And like I'm still learning. So like the fact that I've learned as much as I have already, and I'm very humble about it. Like I'm very grateful and blessed. Now I realize that I know so less as well. Like there's so much more to learn. Kind of like Troy was saying, I don't know if it was filmed in it, but the more you learn and the more that you learn the options are out there, like the more you realize that you don't know so much too. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm like, okay, um, for me personally, I try to like dumb it down then. So like for the listeners watching, um, I don't want to overwhelm any of you guys, right? So like good places to start, I guess I would say for you guys for dividend investing, check out the Income Factory first off. That's a good book. You don't have to follow all the funds though. So I found that he had really good information, right? But the funds, some of them were either not as good or out of date. Actually, a large majority of them, in my opinion, just screen them. But there's a lot of other good funds out there like today, right? And I don't need to go through like names. You guys can find them. I mean, you can literally Google them and find them and then do your research. But that's a good book. Also, if you're interested, the Cash Flow Game Board, or I think it's the Cash Flow Quadrant, Cash Flow Game Board. It was invented by Robert Kiyosaki and Kim Kiyosaki, and I love that game board. Actually, believe it or not, this is like a temporary station that I'm using on this filming. I actually have the game board right under my laptop right now. All right, so there's that. Oh, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a really good book. It was one of my first books into thinking about and like investing in a different atmosphere, different scope, right? Also, Tax Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. So another big thing is if you don't plan your taxes correctly, guys, you're gonna just get. I mean, you're cornering yourself, right? So you can invest as much money in the world, but if you're going to have to pay, let's say, in my opinion, taxes are only going to go up. So let's say you had to pay 50% or 30% or whatever it was, like that's a lot of money. So you're doing all those years of work, and if you just accounted for your tax liability correctly, you could have reduced your time that you had to work to get the same result by like literally sometimes decades. I mean, if you do it efficiently, especially if you're young. Um, so I would recommend that, and and that's what I would say, right? So I would say if you can just start off simple, and a good brokerage to use. I like Fidelity, but I'm impartial. I used M1 before finance. Actually, my first one is I used Robinhood. Although I will give Robinhood a little crap and say when I was overseas, I was playing with it when GMC was a thing. Or anyways, I think that's the ticker symbol for GameStop. Um, no, GME. That's it. That's it. Uh, anyways, I had some call options in, and Robinhood cost me about $25,000 by halting my trading because all these brokerages, especially, they were one of the big ones that halted it for the non-institutional buyers and sellers. And so I will give Robinhood some crap. So for me, I joke, I'm like Robinhood is more like Rob from the hood, as in Rob, which I've lived by the hood, like it's from Rob from the poor. But I would also say this is just for everybody out there, right? And we won't get into this, but this is very interesting point in time where we're at when it comes to like economic cycles. People are getting all excited and thinking, oh, things are going to be so pretty. But I'm here to tell you, if you look out at the real numbers and all of the small businesses out there that are horribly struggling right now, just because I breathe and live it every day now, like I've seen them. And plus also like my uncle has a smaller business would be considered. Um, like they're getting hammered because they do a lot of work for small business. So I see a small business being anywhere from 5 to 500 employees. Let me make that clear as well. Which employees numbers are different, but anywhere from like 50 to 70% of the workforce in the country uh, comes from that. So only like up to like 40% maybe is like big business employees of the country. So to let that sink in as well. So needless to say, interest rates are crushing a lot of people, but where we're at and kind of like an economic cycle, and I don't want to get into things too much because that's not part of this video, but um, I'll put it this way. So I read a good article from Fundrise, the CEO of Fundrise, which I like that platform, by the way. If you guys want to do passive real estate investing, you guys can check that out. Um, He's very into the macro and the micro for the economic cycles. And so where we're at based off of a historic trajectory is it's been about 17 to 22 months on average from when peak interest at the Fed reached peak interest to when the 52-week low bottomed out for the stock market. That's on average. And some of them were longer cycles. So like the '08 was a longer cycle than that. So right now the Fed is still talking about raising the core CPI all the way or their interest until the end of the year. Okay. Yeah. So basically like what this article was putting out, which I kind of agree with it. Um, just because like I studied back in history about all those booms and busts. Um, is by essentially like October of well, right now we're in July of 23. So you guys do the math. So if they finish their last rate hike at the end of this year, add another, 17 to 22 months, we're going to be in like 2025. I think it's August of 25 is approximately when it'd be projected to when we'll see, or probably on average, a 52-week low. Now, obviously, as investors, for you guys, that shouldn't make you scared. That should make you excited because when we had that recent drop in 2022, yeah, 22, right, somewhere, yeah, and well, there was that spring summer one too. I remember when the market started going down, it was down like 20% or whatever. Like I was buying still, and so like the thing to realize, I'm not trying to scare any of you guys. I'm trying to open your eyes to the possibility that there's going to be a lot of sales out there, and so all I'm saying is it's smart for you to keep a little bit of a cash position, especially if you can keep it into something that where you can still make something. For example, Fidelity. If you hold just in a checking account today, now obviously it's a money market, so it goes up and down, it fluctuates, but I don't have any of my money locked in there. I can invest it anytime I want. And right now, I think the yield today is like a 4.6 to 4.8. Yeah, somewhere in there, 4.7. So that's something to check out, guys. So I actually am working on a backdoor Roth with my TSP into my Roth and Fidelity. And while my money sits a little idle, I'm like, wow, I'm earning 4.75%. I think I'm going to invest it, of course, guys, but I'm also considering I'll hold a little bit of a cash position just because I like that for fun. For me, where I'm at is, some people be like, oh, you're young and so you can go aggressive. Well, I do go aggressive to some degrees, but not to where I've done it in the past where I made mistakes. So now I go long term, but I do it in a different approach. So mine's multifaceted. So I go like multiple approaches. Um, but having said that, um, I guess the biggest thing what I do is my goal now, I just do an X base number for me. And that base number just happens to be, um, well, or at least up in this upcoming future here, right? And like making more income and all of this, like my X number happens to be, you know, plus 12 months, over 12 months of expenses for me. Yeah, easily. Um, and probably 1 to 2 years, I would say even. And that of my normal expenses, like every day, right? But that's also because my everyday expenses aren't as high as, right? So like I don't have an active mortgage myself, right? Also, I'm doing a rental arbitration. So for example, like my travel trailer, I don't really get a huge benefit off of this, but this is also something for you guys to consider when you get into like investing. Is if you look at the wealthy, they have control over everything, but they officially own nothing. And so, for example, like my travel trailer, it's titled, my LLC owns it, my holding company, and I have a rental agreement with my LLC for my own personal self, and I'm renting my own, essentially my own ownership dwelling, even though it's not directly owned by me, back to myself. So as the tenant, I'm taking really good care of it because technically I own it, even though I don't. Um, and and so there's not really a huge benefit if you had a house and you were able to depreciate it over the 27.5 years and bonus depreciation and accelerated depreciation. I know I'm going into the weeds here. Some people it's probably just flying, but I figure I might as well mention it. You guys can always Google it. You'd be able to take a lot more tax loss harvesting. But since I own the trailer, it's paid off. There's not really a benefit. The only benefit that does to me is it shows more income on my LLC. Now, where that plays in is when you want to go and apply for home loans, you can do that through your business instead of having to put in your own personal name. And even when you do your personal name, you can do what's known as a transfer of deed, or you can transfer it over to your LLC. There's a lot of different ways to do it, nuances. But my goal is to build up my business credit because my credit, personal credit is I started back in when I got out of high school in 2017, started with a credit card and I had to do a line of credit where I get to put 500 bucks up to get a secured credit, right? And now today my credit is anywhere from well, my TransUnion, which is usually always lower, it's like 794, 796, and then my Equifax is 809. Different credit's huge too. So um, I've had personal loan, I've had car loan, and all of these have come back positive. I've never filed for Chapter 7 or 13 or any of that. Like I've paid all of my bills on time, never been late on any of them. Um, even when like I made a horrible business mistake in that business, it was like a personal slash business. Anyways, essentially, I overpaid for something to where I was trying to form my own like real estate business, so to speak. And I was going off of like what would be like a parent company. And I way overpaid for something. So, by the way, if you ever see any of those programs that you see online or YouTube or anything, oh, you can do this and you can make $1 million or do this and make what? Don't believe that bullshit. You can X out that or not. But, anyways, you can X out the fact that I said that, the BS. Uh, but but I just wanna let you guys know, don't believe that crap. Um, so I fell for it, but I didn't fall for it completely, so mine was a little different in the fact it wasn't one of the advertised ones. It was less advertised, but I fell for it, and it was legit, like, it actually is legit to a degree, right? It's not like it's completely made up like a fallacy, but it is way too costly for what you get, right? Like I could go out and probably get the same training for a couple $100 versus what I paid for everything, right? And it sounds horrible, like it disgusts me and it makes me mad every time I think about it. But I probably lost hundreds of hours of time on that deal, and I lost, which at the time was a lot of money. And it still is a good chunk, but yeah, this is when I'm getting my military pay, right, and everything. Essentially, it cost me my brand new Subaru, my new car. And I had that car paid off in 11 months from when I bought it. And so essentially it cost me like 24, 20, it cost me like 25,000 by the end. So almost my new car. So essentially I ended up selling that car and downgrading and getting something. But I went through like almost a year of just pains. And by the way, this was not long ago, guys. So this was, let's see, we're in 23 now. This was the end of the summer. It was August of 2021 when I made that mistake, and it haunted me all the way until uh, what was it like? I think it was April, May of 2022. And I didn't stop doing my like investments into like my index universal lives. I kept doing my minimum amounts that I wanted to put into those because those are tax free and those are like long term cash buckets. And then um, and then I had to make the decision. I was like, well, like I had an insurmountable amount of debt, right? Because I figure at this point, like I had like assets in the fact that I own precious metals, so I own physical precious metals, and if I would have liquidated that, I could have paid off the debt alone just with that. But I'm not somebody who's going to do that. Why would I sell assets to pay off bad things that aren't assets, right? That's another thing for you guys to remember is if you're ever going to sell an asset, replace it with another asset. Don't sell an asset to pay for a liability. And so for me, I was kind of in that mess. And so, like, what got me through it is, well, I'm very religious. And so, like, I just prayed about it and prayed about it. And I took action, though. That's the thing. I took action. So I wasn't going to take the easy way out. So I wasn't going to just file for bankruptcy or anything like that. That's the easy way. And so I was like, I knew I could climb out of that hole, but it was a very painful hole to climb out of. Because you can imagine, like, those monthly payments that I was paying because how I did it is I tried to make it to where which I don't do this today and I never recommend it to anybody, but I tried to do it to where I had my credit card arbitration to where I had 0% for a year or whatever it was, right? So I knew I'd pay it off by then or before. And so like I charged most of that stuff to those and I had like a few of them. And so it dumped some of my credit, right? Because my ratio got jacked up, right? Which my ratio today is way higher than that amount that I was in debt for. It's just, but the ratio I use today, I use less than 0%. How is that possible? Well, right as anything hits my account on my credit card, I treat it like a debit card. I pay it off instantly. I use credit cards for the protection, buyer protection, plus the rewards. and essentially using the bank's money, not your own money. So if somebody gets a hold of your stuff, guys, they're not digging directly into your checking account. So that's just food for fact. Plus, also it keeps up your credit score, believe it or not. So the credit card companies, right, and the banks, they don't like me when it comes to credit cards because they don't make any money off me. They made a little bit of money off me when I was a sucker, and I did that horrible mistake, but they don't make anything off me today. Um, Now, obviously, they'll make money off my long-term loans with my real estate here in the near future and down the road, but I'll be making more in surplus off of them, or else I wouldn't do the loan. Um, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I want to just caution you guys, like the viewers, like be careful is all I'm saying. Like don't fall for any of those get rich quick, and and even if they don't say you'll get rich quick, like don't fall for any of that crap because most of the time the stuff they're selling you can go and get it for next to nothing or free, and you can train it. Like I mean, my return on some of the books I've read, like if I spent let's say or $20 on a book, right? But I learned an immense amount of knowledge on real estate. And I go and buy here, and especially in the near future, and I have like, let's say, $500,000 property or $1 million property, et cetera, right? I could throw the number out. Um, I mean, and let's say I have very little down in the deal, but I'm able to cash flow and get my yield on cost. I mean, guys, it's not even absurd to. I know people that have gotten 1,500% return because their yield on cost for their it's almost dang near infinity because they have such a low amount in the deal and they're able to use OPM other people's money. Now, I caution you guys on that. So always keep money and it's some type of safe liquid form where it's still earning interest. That's why you like to use insurance contracts too, even though it costs a little bit because it's tax free. I can take a policy loan, which is also a tax free event, and I can make money still on my interest or money on my money that's still in the policy that I have loaned out on. So essentially, if you do it right, you can have a wash to where I loan money from my own policy at 2%, which is the cash value that I build up in my own policy and I can go and use that as a down payment on a real estate deal. But I'm earning already a guaranteed 2% or 5% or 7, depending on which policy I'm talking about. So it's a wash. So I'm actually making money still on the money I have loaned on my own money, but then it's also a tax-free event and it's tax-free as well. And it still earns money. So it's like, how do you figure out how to make money like on $1? Like you can earn 3x on it, right? Let's just throw a number out there. So I'm finding out ways which I didn't know this all the time, right? To where instead of that dollar sitting idle or yen or whatever peso, whatever currency you're working in, like figure out, which is not hard to do once you realize it, how you can have that $1 yen whatever it is and have it in an account to where you can get tax-free status on it. And so that's already a benefit. You can take a borrow against it, your own cash value that you accumulate, and that's tax free. And then also it can earn interest and guaranteed interest on your money. That's another benefit. And then you can also take and go out and use your money and go and buy real estate or assets that cash flow and bring in money. And I mean, there's multiple levers that you can use. And so don't corner yourself, guys. So like I know this channel is about dividends and I respect that. I like dividends, but don't corner yourself. All I say is diversify. Like if I could throw out a number of all the different things, like different types of things I invest in, which by the way, I won't invest into something if I don't truly know it now. I made that mistake in the past, as I've already explained. Um, but the biggest things for me, like where I'm at right now, and then very near future of investing, and without even talking like numbers or anything, right? Um, I've got I've got a couple index universal life policies. Um, I'm going to do a whole life, which is against Dave Ramsey's advice because I don't care what Dave Ramsey says because my whole life I have it set up to where it makes sense from a cost perspective. Plus, I have a guaranteed return of like five. Oh, I have a guaranteed rate of crediting of 5%, but the long term average, which is one of the it's a double A rated, A plus rated company, by the way, in the United States, and it's one of the largest that does these policies. But I have a guaranteed 5% with a long term of closer to 7% return. Plus, also I have complete tax free status with it, and I'm going to max fund it. So for me, how that looks different is me max funding it. The price that I actually am paying is actually less than if I was going to take and put that money in an investment and grow it and hope to get, let's say, 5 to 7%, or maybe you can use the long-term market average, but you get so much volatility and loss, right? And if you want to use that money as an investment into other assets, that's not smart to do that. So it makes sense for me because I can get a guaranteed rate, and I know the amount I'm paying, and the amount that I'm paying, since I'm max funding it, actually works out to a small percentage. So some people would say, "Oh, well, that's a high percentage." It's really not. Once if you max fund it really quick, within like a few years or just over, like your cost basis is actually not that terrible. Um, so I'm not just completely shooting, I guess, through my ass and like saying that I have one and I wouldn't, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. Like I know what I'm investing in. I'll put it that way. But it's all for a purpose. So I do that. I actually just recently started Masterworks. I like them. So investing in art, certain art as well. It's kind of like a hedge where I keep a little bit. And then another thing is I own quite a bit and decent amount of like precious metals. And then another thing is obviously I have a taxable account, and I do a Roth IRA. And then I also have a traditional IRA as well, because it was my backdoor IRA, so to speak. So even if you're a high income earner, guys, you can do what's known as a backdoor IRA or into a Roth conversion. By the way, just to let you guys know, and there's no cap. So like 6,500, 7,000, that goes away. You just have to pay tax at your taxable bracket when you do the backdoor. So there's that. And then also, like, I take advantage of my TSP, thrift savings account. So thrift savings plan, excuse me. So if if you have any like government employees here, I had one when I was in the military. That was 5% free match of my gross, right? Well, now a civilian, I have a 5% free match as well with what I'm doing, and I'm making way more too. So that 5% I'm going to take advantage of, and I'll do 5% to match it. Plus, I'll do another 5%. So I'm going to be balancing it between the Roth TSP, which is available, which also doesn't count against your Roth IRA contribution. It's completely separate, even though it acts as the same type of account with very low fees, kind of like index funds. And then the traditional side as well. So that way, like my CPA says, it's smart to plan like your income to where you can have some of it tax free, and then obviously, well, focusing higher amounts on the tax free, and then still have some taxable income, because there are some benefits to having that, for like showing income and other things if you want to, like in the future, for qualifying for certain things or whatever have you. Um, but but I mean, that's the thing. Like, I want to just bring that to your guys' attention, and plus also a couple other levers. But for simplicity of this video, I'm not going to keep on going on that part, just because I know I've already kind of dug myself a whole trench, guys. Like, you guys have a whole battlefield of things I've already went over here, and I hope it's not too scattered. But my biggest dividend mistake, um, goodness, my mistake ended up being with real estate, and it wasn't actually the physical real estate. So I would say that, I guess the biggest dividend mistake I made is, which I think I kind of touched on, is chasing yield at the beginning. I was like, okay, let me chase the highest yield, and I didn't know anything about the company or anything. That's when I didn't go into the company's financial statements or anything. Right? I didn't know anything about it. That was a horrible mistake, and I didn't stay on that trajectory long at all. So like I got off that horse really quick, especially once I found PPC and a few others. Then obviously I'm kind of like a self thinker, so then I was like, what am I doing? And I started learning, and so that was one of my biggest mistakes I probably learned, or excuse me, regretted. Let me plug in my laptop here. But it didn't actually cost me monetary, really, I would say, because I learned from it so quickly. Like, we're in such like a couple like weeks or months lapse that it didn't really affect me on my dividend journey or my passive income journey too much. It was other things that affected me. Yeah, there's always an opportunity cost to any move you make. Doesn't matter whether it's in the market, out of the market, or anything. And so, but you also have to weigh it as, okay, well, if you're young, it's an opportunity cost, but it's also a learning opportunity. So like I learned a lot over the time, whether that was through dividends or whether that was through learning what I should actually be doing for real estate. Like, I've taken so much time to go over so much to the extreme, guys, which I don't always recommend it. But like, besides digging into the financial statements and others of companies and stuff, and I use some screeners and stuff, Like I've went into it to the extreme, like for example, like real estate. Like I've been researching it and going through it, and I've gotten close to like investing in a physical deal, but then I was deployed or I was doing something else or I was stationed somewhere and I didn't want to invest over there or whatever the case was. That I've been educating myself for over 3 years on that subject. Well, probably four, probably 3 to 5 years, but 3 years getting really serious about it. And now I'm in a position, like I said, where the opportunity has arisen so much and I'm going to take action. I guess the biggest opportunity cost is not taking the action. So having the education, knowing what to do, and then not taking action. But that can happen for many reasons. For me, it was mainly the financial aspect. It's not like I was making any crazy six figures and all of this. Like I wasn't making a crazy amount. Plus, also, I was paying for some of my past mistakes. So, um, I just did my other investments, which aren't bad. Like I still do them today. It's just I wasn't doing the real estate. And so that was an opportunity cost, but I was willing to stomach that because, hey, I'm 24. I've learned a lot. It's not like I don't have anything put it away. Like I did a financial audit with a financial advisor, which is a good friend of mine. Um, and they're like, you're easily on course to be a millionaire by X age, and it's still young. I mean, like conservatively, they're like 40, and I was like, no, I'm like, I'll do that before 40. But like, but I mean, like my goal is like wrote myself out a check, and this is just assets of holding. Like I don't have to, like I could be a poor millionaire, right? So where I'm like locked up by my assets, and I don't actually have it in cash because why would I want to have it in cash? Of like $2 million by the time I'm 30. So anybody that has already been watching this, they know I'm 24. I mean, I got less than 6 years. And am I on track? I am definitely on track to make that a possibility potential. And the only reason I say put in possibility is because there things come up, right? But realistically speaking, I will definitely be on that track by my mid 30s for sure. But even by 30, I'll probably be there because especially once I get going into my real estate and my syndications and other deals, and like where I can have like no money in myself, but still get money out of the deal. Like my CPA said, he's like, because I love talking to him. It's like a kid going trick or treating. Like for me, I mean, I learned so much. Um, he's like, I would be surprised if you're not a millionaire within the next 2 to 3 years, and that's my CPA, who does like my financials, and and I mean, so it's just inspiring, right? No, he brought it up, like, because I was talking. I just get into the weeds, like we start talking about because I plan it out. I'm like, all right, so if I buy this deal at this price and I buy it this way, this is going to lead to X, Y, Z. And so I don't actually already have the deal in my mind, like, hey, I'm going to buy this address and this, right? Even though I know different markets and different markets I'm going to target. Instead, I basically come up with, hey, this is the number and this is the possibility and these are the different types of strategies that I'm planning on doing. Okay, now go out and find the property that matches those descriptions and ping. That's another thing I don't have. I don't have streaming services. I get them for free. So, like for example, like I have a really good deal, an arbitration that costs me nothing. A good friend of mine, he's got YouTube TV, and I get it for free because he's like, "Oh, you can have it." You know what I mean? You can be added, or I don't even use it much, but I use YouTube. Right? This is basically free, but like I YouTube a lot. But I also find I'm just not watching as much now. Like I do a lot of reading. I love reading. Um, I've actually, they're not hardly like, I wouldn't consider them like lengthy books by any means, but when I was in the service and I was deployed and in like my evenings when I got more time, I took it upon myself. So I grew up on a farm and I authored 4 books. And so I got those books out and I got them on Amazon. And it was like a passion and it was like a hobby and a labor of love. And so like for me, I look at it as like I've got literally a dozen more books that I want to write, like all different titles and like things I want to help people with. And so and things like I have knowledge on. And so like how can I get the knowledge out? Because here's another little piece of like bit, right? And that is some of your most valuable knowledge, guys, that you're gonna ever have, which by the way, like humble yourself, right? But once you like get life experience and you've seen and talked to so many amazing people around the world, and I mean literally like everybody's got a story, but like some of the greatest advice that you can get and or receive from is sometimes right here, right between your two eyes. Like your greatest decision maker to keep you out of trouble is right here. And what happens is, but it can also be the thing that can get you in trouble. So here's where I want to separate it for you guys is whenever you make any type of decision in life at all, but especially like an investment, okay, especially to where you're going to gruel in pain over years down the road if you don't do it, somewhat correct, um, is don't ever invest on emotion. So if you ever find yourself getting emotionally attached to anything, an investment or maybe a property because it means something to you or something, that's when you need to cut yourself off from that because that will get you severely hurt. And the only reason I can say that is because I've seen it happen. And I've also been there where I've almost made the leap. I almost jumped off a cliff because had an emotional attachment to it. And then I pulled myself in and reined myself in. I didn't do it. And now I've taught myself that discipline. And so I think like your health, your wealth, your mindset, and like your spiritual or like your Zen or your religion, right? No matter how you look at it, no matter what you guys think or believe, like those are some of the most important. So like me personally, I exercise and work out 4 to 6 times a week. Like that's not even like a random range number. Like the only reason I give a range of 2± is because some weeks if I'm working more or whatever, right? But like even this morning, like I work out, like I do weights and then I get some cardio in, like I'll ride a bike and whatnot. All right, so now the thing is so health is huge for me. I also watch what I eat. I also do regular cleanses occasionally. So these things all take discipline. Also, when I go to the store, you'll see me. I pull out my phone and I go to Fred Meyer's, for example, which I own the Kroger stock, so I'm supporting my own store. It's funny. Is essentially I clip all the coupons I want and I buy store brand, but I also try to shop healthy always. So like you'll see like vegetables and everything else. Like I buy organic because I want to try to avoid the sprays and stuff. And I try to eat a salad almost daily, like in the evening. Um, but I would say is like taking care of your health plays into taking care of your mindset. And then the mindset, what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your body, but what are you feeding your mind? Even just as important almost. So like if you guys are just sitting down and watching TV all day, and then you get to work and you're sitting in a cubicle and you're sitting all day. Well, your whole entire life you're just sitting. So maybe it's time for you to get up and just take action and do something that you would never have dreamed you would have done. So that could be going on a walk every day. You're just going to challenge yourself. Start going on a walk, or maybe you're not a runner, so you go walking. Maybe you're not a runner, so you go biking. Okay, or maybe you want to go see something scenic. Even if you live in the city, I guarantee there's probably a park somewhere near around. Find a friend to go with. Heck, go by yourself. Put on a little podcast. Don't be one of those people that puts the earbud in both ears either, because you need to be able to at least have some situational awareness and hear what's going on around you, or else that's not smart. Um, that's not just my military instinct, keep it kicking in. It's more so also like, hey, if somebody's, trying to shoot up this whole area, or hey, somebody's coming down the road and they're about to run over you. If you can't hear anything, that's just dumb. Like always be careful, guys. So, like I said, one earbud in, one out. You can hear it, right? All right, cool. So listen to a podcast. There's a lot of them out there. Bigger Pockets, that's a really good one. The Wealth Game Podcast, that's another really good one. I mean, goodness, I could keep going on and on about them. But the point is which I wanted to pull up another one that I really liked, and I can't think of it. It's called Real Estate Investing School Podcast. That's another good one for you guys. That's it. I mean, there's all kinds of information out there is all I'm saying, right? Onward, by the way, Fundrise, I mentioned them. Onward, they made a podcast series and they talk like macro, micro economics, right? So it's called Onward, and it's also on Spotify, or I'm sure you can find it on the iTunes, or excuse me, the iPhone version as well, right? But needless to say, those are all really good. So like download them, listen to them in the car. If you have like for me, I'm going to start having to drive a little further. But guess what? I'm going to be listening to podcasts. So I'm not just going to be doling my mind with the same music over and over again. Like always be growing, always be thinking, always see how you can help. So like for me, like I'm always learning, and I'm in a continual state of learning, right? But how can I help others? And so like this type of stuff inspires me, because I'm like, okay, like I already know like my future, like I want to make an impact and a difference and help a lot of people. And like that's just part of like my mission. And so it drives me, and it creates that drive that even when days are bad and you're like, oh man, I'm tired, you know, um, it makes you still get up and you're like happy to continue forward. It's because like you're doing something greater. And I don't want that to just sound like dull, like you hear something out of a cookie cutter. No, like it is true. Like it makes it greater because, I'm no longer just getting up because, oh, I want to go be rich because I want to own money. Like that doesn't mean anything. When I die, I don't give a crap about that. Like that doesn't mean anything. It's what can I do with it while I'm alive? And so, okay, so if I can grow this empire and do this, well, then I can do this many more good things for humanity. Okay, so people that are starving. Okay, within even this own our country here, or and then doing different other missions. Okay, not enough people get access to good like spiritual food, so to speak, right? Like good like mind. Mind like feeding type of information, right? That actually stimulates like positive things, right? So like that's another benefit, right? And so many people listen to all the white noise. So I think the healthiest thing for you guys is X out the white noise, see what really matters in your life, make a little list, post it on your mirror, like in your bathroom, and then post it by your bedside. And like I do this in my own life, and make it a goal. And like every day, take a little bit of time at the beginning of your day, whether it's 15 minutes or 50 minutes, and get up just a little early. You owe it to yourself, and make your life better and pay yourself first. Because guess what? Nobody else is going to come there and help you out or pay you first. Okay. You need to take care of yourself, because if you can take care of yourself and pay yourself first, it'll pay you dividends down the road. No pun intended. Plus, also, you can help a lot of other people. You can't help some other people that are drowning if you're drowning yourself. Be thankful. Like right here, like this. See this, guys? What is this? This is water, and it's potable. It's potable. Hey, what is that? That's a roof right over my head. Hey, what are we doing here? Oh, we got internet. We got electricity. Oh, hey, look at that. So I got a fan running up there, so it's keeping me somewhat cool, so I'm not completely dying here, if you guys haven't noticed. All right, so I mean the AC's out there, and I'm not here there, so I'm dying. But you know what? It's worth it because I want to try to um, shed some light, right? So like it's the little things, guys, in life. Like so, like you got a bed to sleep on, you got a pillow to lay your head at night. Okay, you got people, even if it's just one, that care about you in your life. You guys have fresh drinking water. You got water to shower. You got running water. You got running plumbing. Uh, I mean, you've got healthy food or somewhat healthy. Debatable. There's a lot of things that get put in it, but you have options, is what I'm saying, right? Like, there's so many things. Like, if you're viewing this video, you're already blessed. I'm here to tell you, like, if you're viewing this video, you're blessed, because the fact is, um, you have the ability to watch this. Which, if you have the ability to watch this, you're already probably in a better position than a large majority of the world population. And if you're also in a better position, because the fact is, if you're following Troy, and the fact is that he's putting this type of content out there to like motivate and inspire and enlighten you guys, um, I mean, you're already ahead of probably, I would easily say 95% of people, easily. And that's just from associating. I've talked to hundreds and even thousands of people, just because I've been in a lot of different areas, from training commands to military to, 3 different deployments, to, before that, just everything. So it's insane, really. But if you're viewing this, you're blessed. And I can say, like, I'm blessed. Like, I'm very thankful. I mean, Troy's blessed. I'm sure you'd admit that. So, like, get back to the simple things. And, I'm not asking you guys to, uh, regain some unkindled faith or anything. If if that's not you, that's not you. Hey, that's fine. Or maybe you find out later in life. But I am saying is like the spiritual aspect, like, realizing there is a more uh, powerful being, right? That is a before, above yourself, right? So like, for me, like, I thank God, like, amen. I thank Christ. Um, and I know, like, nobody can tell me different, but I'm also not ever going to argue with somebody about it, because like I've just had so many things in my life that I could have been not here right now, and there's a reason why I'm here still, and like I could have not been, because I was that close. And so that's all I'm saying, guys. Like, live every day like if you died, you'd be happy with it. but at the same time, live for the future as well. So that's what I always tell people: don't live every day like it's your last, in the sense of like just blowing everything. Instead, live every day like it's your last, and go away from the material things and come back to the things that matter in your life, like the things that don't even cost any money, really. So the memories, the time spent with family, the love, the compassion, the friendship, um, giving back, helping, doing meaningful work. Like all of these things are worth way more than any monetary thing you can go buy that they try to sell you. So that's all I'm saying. If you could take anything away from this video, just take that last bit away, is go out and do those types of things in life, and you're gonna have a meaningful life. I hear all the time that like somebody's not a dividend investor unless you get over a 6% yield, or somebody's not or it's an old man's game, or it's an old person's game. I hear all the time that, oh, that doesn't actually work. You have to have millions of dollars to be able to get this. And like that's so fictional, guys. Like that's so untrue. So let me just point out a couple like ways to like disprove that. Which, like, everybody's always entitled to their opinion, right? And so like just take it for what it is. But if you look statistically, 50 to 70% of the total stock market return over the last 100 years has been through dividend repayments and reinvesting. And that's just the reality of it. And so, I mean, you can look back at all kinds of different charts and look at all kinds of research and find that you'll come to a similar conclusion, right? Um, all right, so that's one of the first things. Plus, also, you can reinvest when prices are low, and you reinvest when prices are high, but you average a pretty good median there. Also, I like to argue the fact that why would I own? Okay, let's take bear markets, which can go on for a decade plus. So why would I hold a stock that pays nothing for owning it? And let's say it trades at $100, versus I can own a stock that is the same value at $100, but it pays a, let's say, a 2% or a 4% dividend or whatever, right? And maybe that 2% has a 12% growth rate, right? Well, maybe the 4%, has more of like a 6% or 8% growth, right? It's all relative. But the thing I'm saying is, I will never in my lifetime ever own another stock or company that doesn't spin out some type of cash flow to me for holding it. And the reason why is because cash speaks. I don't care who you are, but cash speaks. So, kind of like Warren Buffett would say, right? Um, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, right? And that's so true. So, I will gladly take the one that I am assured or almost guaranteed to get over the potential that something's going to grow exponentially more. Um, you'll learn that in The Richest Man of Babylon too. So it's not okay. So here's the thing: it's not, it's the opportunity cost, and it's not necessarily okay. How can I get 1,000,000% return on something? Okay, that's cool, but guess what? If you don't protect your downside, and I'm pointing back to you viewing, right? If you don't protect your downside is what's going to kill you. So it's not the upside that's always going to make you, because as long as you're getting, let's say, a 5 to 8% long-term return, you're probably going to be fine. It's the downside that's going to kill you, because if you don't protect your downside can wipe you out 100%. Like it can literally be like poking a million holes in a gallon jug, and it's only a matter of time before it's out. So protect your downside. And the other dividend myth, I guess I would say, more in line with that it's a slow trickle up and that you can never do it or you'll never be able to retire like that. That's not true as well. Look at the numbers, guys. Look at a retirement calculator. Even plug in a modest 7 to 8% return. You don't even have to do a 10% and reinvest all your dividends and put it into a tax efficient account. And if you put in a substantial, or not even a substantial amount, literally you can put in $100 a week. I mean, you'll be a millionaire by the time you retire. And then if we adjust for inflation, and you double that or triple that, which I'll be honest, a lot of you guys, especially with the value of the dollar today, you could probably do something similar. And if you think you can't, then do something part-time or start another gig or something. Because I could almost guarantee you can do something else that you're not doing already, that you're wasting your time on. Needless to say, I mean, there's no reason why you can't retire somewhat comfortably. And then you also have to figure like that's not the only thing you have to live off of. Like you have so many other opportunities. It's just one of the levers, right? So don't let that fool you. And if you're 40 watching this, don't let that fool you either, because guess what? The best time to start would have been yesterday, but the next best time is today. So just start and realize that some of the people that are going for high growth and no income play, they're going to be regretting that. I mean, like I could be completely wrong. And if you're watching this 5, 10 years from now, and I was completely wrong, and we didn't go into some type of market crash or some type of reset to where things stagnated for a longer period of time, which I humbly think we are kind of going into that. You know, that's awesome. I'm glad that I was wrong there. But if I am right, can you afford for me to be right? That's what you should ask yourself. So don't believe the naysayers, and like invest for the long term, and don't hold something unless it gives you some type of cash flow for holding it, or else it doesn't make sense. Um, and that's just like my rules for investing, right? It's got to pay me something for holding it, because why would I hold it? You know, I mean, it wouldn't make sense. I mean, it just doesn't fundamentally make sense. Why would I hold something that gives me nothing when my opportunity cost, I'm out that money for that time I'm invested in it, but I'm not earning anything with the potential upside? That's horrible. Like that's the worst advice you could ever give somebody or take yourself. Never do that type of investment, guys. Like I try to tell people, I challenge the viewers and people watching right now. Um, Tell me a deal that you wouldn't invest in that is a solid product. Like let's put this into Black Friday terms. Is there any company out there? Okay, let's say it's a solid company, solid balance sheet, and it's got a phenomenal track record. Now, if you can buy it at a 10%, let alone a 50% discount face value, I mean, you'd have to be out of your mind to not buy that versus, okay, versus if it's Black Friday and we put this into a product, there's no like everybody out there, they would be happy to if their favorite hair dryer was 50% off or whatever it is, right? Or TV is 50% off and they buy it up like that. But when it comes to their stocks and the things that pay them cash, when it goes 50% off, they run in fear. So I'm here to challenge you guys to instead change your way of thinking. That's the thing for people to realize is it's like a ride or die. Like don't let the white noise uh, mess up your long term goals, right? So I guess what I'm trying to really say is also when there's blood in the water, and I love this, I love it, I use it all the time, but it's so true. When there's blood in the water, okay, uh, it's time to be a shark. It's time to go out and get it, right? That's not the time to go be a bottom feeder or something. It's time to be a shark. It's kind of also the same thing. So when the tide is in, everybody's mode is lifted and everything looks amazing and prices are, priced to the ceiling. But then when the tide goes out, you see exactly who's, upturned, right? And who's like completely just drowning in debt and everything else, right? So, I guess what I'm trying to get at is it's time to always, and this is, you're going to find this when you start talking like in your like work environment and whatnot. If you start hearing people talking, oh, the stock market's hot, oh, this thing, like it should excite you and also alarm you, because this is a good thing to realize. And I think Warren Buffett said it really well is to be very greedy, or be greedy when others are fearful, but also be very fearful when others are greedy. So right now we're in that time where it's still be fearful, because there are opportunities out there, and so there's different things you can invest in at different points of a market, and it doesn't matter. As a long-term dividend investor, you can just invest, right? Just continue investing. Like you're going to win long term. But what I'm getting at, if you want to really dial in your investing, different types of the market or different parts of the cycle, you want to be in different types of investments. And so, like, you can continue dividend portfolio, and that's like your constant, and you always invest. And if you're afraid of investing in one company, guess what? There's index funds, and those index funds, it's perfect. You can track the market, right? Like for example, Troy mentioned a few good ones. Okay, well here's another couple good ones. I like SCHD. I like SCHY, which is the equivalent except the international version. Um, there's a lot of other ones that you can own, is what I'm saying. So if you own a bucket of these, I mean, you could almost, which I'm not saying I don't recommend it, but you could almost just set it and forget it, or just check it on like a semi-annual basis. if you do it appropriately. And then what you do is you have that, and then you take and focus your time on whatever else you're really good at. Maybe it's building a business, or maybe it's you love real estate, or maybe it's a different investment, or you love your career. Like, put your time into those things, and you don't even have to put a lot of time into this, but continually do it. And like, those acorns will grow into amazing, huge oak trees. So, but here's the thing I want to caution all the viewers is don't be distracted by the white noise. So if you are a long-term dividend investor, whether it's income play or growth, or you combine the two, which I recommend combining the two, because then if your growth stalls a little bit, you always get your income play. But needless to say, off of that subject, I would say we're at an interesting period. So instead, it's time to tread lightly and be a little fearful. And the reason why I say that mainly is, CPI, as the Fed measures it and the government measures it, which we all know, if you have half a brain and it's not, up your rear end, and I'm just joking, right? But it's true. Um, real inflation numbers are still different. It's still tracking higher. But I mean, it's not tracking higher, like it's not going higher, but it's higher than what they say. Um, yeah, but they all people don't realize too, even if core inflation at the Fed is coming down, they don't realize how rates have literally tripled, quadrupled, etc. from a year ago and more. And so that literally can halt the entire global economy. And so what's happened is, yeah, inflation has come down, but literally business is literally hemorrhaging right now. Like businesses, and the people that are getting the biggest breaks are the big business guys. And but so it's unfortunate for all of these small businesses. The only thing fortunate, I guess, about it that you could look at is, guess what? The majority of the companies you hold in your index funds and your other things are big business. And so I guess even if you're suffering maybe as a consumer level, I guess your companies are still profiting pretty well. But so I mean, there's always positives and negatives to every side, is what I'm getting at here, and I think Troy would agree. So you really got to just pick your fight. And if you don't want to take forever looking at all this stuff, you don't have to. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Just go and research and find a couple good index funds. I already gave a couple of them. And like I mean, a quick search and you can find them, and then just see where they overlap. Okay. And then don't invest in multiple that completely overlap each other, because that wouldn't make sense. And then look at your expense ratio. If I give you a piece of advice, look at the expense ratio. The two I gave off, and even the few that he did as well, they have very low expense, and the expense is what will kill you too. So I would never recommend a mutual fund. I always recommend an index. Like 98+%, well, over 95% of actively managed mutual funds underperform the market. Just a little FYI for the viewers, and they cost way more. So, needless to say, don't be discouraged, and do not um, be afraid to just get in. Like, just start today, and I promise, almost can guarantee it, in 30, 40 years, even though things may look way different if we're here or not, um, you're not going to regret it. Like that you just started. Just start today, regardless of where the market is, up, down, sideways, doesn't matter. You can't predict it. And like we could even, if we knew for a fact it was going to bottom in 25, let's just say, would I stop investing completely? Absolutely not. Like, you dollar cost average in, and it's actually proven to be either number one or the second best strategy besides just lump summing. Now, here's some interesting, and I won't get into it, but you can look up positive and negative days in the stock market and trends. Well, in the past, like pre early 2000s, which it still applies to today, you're going to have some of your greatest market volatility shifts on Mondays and Fridays. And sometimes it's Tuesdays and Fridays, but it just depends. But needless to say, what a person could do is do a dollar cost average approach. And like, I do this myself. And every single week, like, at those two different times, Monday and Fridays, I'm buying, 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 buying. And the reason why is because, guess what? It's funny if you think about it, but Fridays, sometimes people are having exit their position for the week. Okay. Mondays, the market just opened for the week. Okay. And so there's a lot of turbulence. It's a lot of, and it could come out a negative report, and then all of a sudden the market plunges, or the market could gain a lot of Mondays. So those Mondays and Fridays are one of the greatest increases and decreases in the market over the past 100 years prior to early 2000. Um, I guess I would just say is don't try to time it, just get in. And the more times you can invest in tranches that are quality, just do it because I mean, look at it as like if you pick Mondays and Fridays and you set auto invest and you just invest, right? A certain amount, Monday and Friday. And I mean, that is automatically that's twice a week. And there's approximately 4 weeks in a month. Okay. Maybe just a little bit over. Depends on the month. Well, anyways, you're automatically investing about 8 times a month into different tranches. If you do that equally spread out, I mean, you're already probably ahead of the person that just does it once a month, right? Because now you're averaging out over 8 different times throughout the month, guys. I mean, you had a couple of days to that. That's almost a third of the month if you think about it. And those are some of your most volatile days sometimes. So, I mean, you can't go wrong. Is what I guess what we're saying is like just get in, just start, but don't do it blindly. So I recommend if you're not the person that wants to research it, you're not the person that wants to take all that time, look up some quality index funds and diversify between probably 2 to 5 different index funds, and you will probably have a solid portfolio. I mean, that's how I learned. Like from by the time I could like be of use, like I remember growing up out in the country, like I was mowing the lawn. I was driving tractors when I was like 5, like, and like, I was out there working, and, like, I enjoyed it, like, I learned so much from it, like, that's priceless information, and I gotta spend it with people that I really was close with, right? And so, all I can say is, like, kudos and keep that up, and, like, that'll pay dividends, no pun intended, and also, he I think I'm almost assured that he's gonna be thanking you down the road, and I would even challenge you that if somehow something slips past the crack, maybe it's not available to him at 18 or if it's got contingencies. The only reason is so he can't go and buy that sports car and wreck it or something. Yeah, invest in security and protection too for him. I know like I do, like, you won't catch me, uh most of the time. Let's just say, like, I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, and I think that law-abiding people follow and practice good, um, I guess, safety practices, right? It's the people that are the opposite that are not, that are the ones that don't listen to anything, that they're always going to do what they want to do, are the ones you got to watch out for. And honestly, let's filter that out. That can be the same thing in anything in life, right? You're always going to have the people that are you just got to watch out for them, right? And like it's our duty in some ways, like just pray for them. Like that's what I do. Like I feel I'm sorry, right? Like I don't want it to come off as bad or anything because like we've all been in low spots in life. But like my heart goes out to like some of them. I mean, because like everybody has a reason, right? Something happened. And so it's not like for no reason most of the time that something just happened in their life. So like show a little bit of, I guess, you know, hesitation. Not really hesitation is a good word that I'm looking for, but show a little restraint and like being so quick to judge and be slow to judge and quick to listen. There we go. And I think that's a scripture. I should be slow to judge, but quick to listen. And that's true because a lot of things, right? So um, we can learn so much from each other, right? I mean, I've done a lot of talking in this, so I'm going to be a hypocrite when I say this, but we were made with one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. You can have all the money and be completely miserable in life. So instead, I challenge each and every person watching this create the life of abundance, but abundance is how you view it, right? So some people view having an awesome family that they raised kids with actual morals and values, and like to actually give them a real education as well, like what Troy's doing with his son, for example. Um, like that could be worth more than any money amount of money in the world. And so, like, and I've met some people that they can't stand to not have every dollar in the world, and they're completely miserable, always chasing it. So all I'm saying is I challenge all of you guys to create the abundance and wealth in your life that you deem abundant. And, everybody can use a little bit of dividends, right? In any type of form, whether that's cash flowing assets through dividend stocks and indexes or some real estate or by the way, in midterm rental properties are really good. 2 to 3 times X cash flow. So 30-day stay. If you guys haven't checked it out already, that's a good one. Works in certain markets. There's so many different things, though, is what I'm getting at. And so create the abundance in your life that you guys want to see. Um, And that way, when you get to the end of it, right, or the pearly gates, as they say, like you can look back and you won't be discouraged that you created the life you wanted. Um, because like I guess on the flip side, like in a sense, like I don't have any kids, right, and I'm not married, and I honestly don't plan it for the foreseeable future, maybe even forever. Um, but and some people that may be like, well, that seems lonely. Well, the thing that is like I'd love to find somebody that was at the same thinking level, right? Um, like when it came to like discipline and like why we're doing this and what it'll mean right in the future. But it's tough. Plus, also, I guess uh, I would argue and say that it's not like I'm doing it for nothing. So I have my goals and aspirations and how I'm going to be able to help people. How I'm already helping people, keeping their lights on. Like for literally millions of people, if you blow it up and actually think about it, like the transmission line. Well, excuse me, the substations that'll be working in. Like literally all of these power in the whole Northwest, millions of people. Like like that is amazing service just in itself. Okay. Plus also then you have to figure all the other things and like doing some donations. And also like even like this, guys, like I love just giving my time a little bit, right? And this has went on a long time, right? But like in my opinion, it was worth it. It was worth every time. If I could have just helped even just one person or inspire one person and that one person goes and does it again, and for somebody else, that's all I ask of you is to repay me for this, which you don't have to. You don't owe me anything. Is just go and teach yourself and go inspire others. Yeah, definitely. I'm like I said, I'm very blessed. I'm very thankful to be a part of the show. I'm hoping that, like I said, even if it's just reached a handful of people, I'm very grateful about that. And like I said, I'd be happy to help inspire in the future and help some people out as well. I don't know exactly what all that looks like yet today, right? To be completely honest, but you just never know, right? And so I don't have anything else really. I mean, we could talk for a long time, right? There's all kinds of different things out there from here to the sun. Um, but for simplicity's sake in this video, I think I will just end with this, and that is, you guys go on and be infinite. Always take care of yourselves, right? So your mind, body, and spiritual, right? And there's a few other pillars, but those are some main ones. And also pass it along and pass this advice along. Don't just hide it and keep it boxed up, and help others and inspire others as well. And show Troy some support as well. The fact is, he took his time. He reached out to me, and you know, yeah, I mean, obviously, I gave my time, but the fact is, he reached out to me. He's putting in the legwork. He's putting in the time, and I know what it takes. Like it takes a lot, like of time, even if you're editing minimally or a lot. Like it doesn't matter. Like it still takes time. Like show him some love, subscribe, pass this along, share it with people it may help, and also subscribe to his channel. Like, I mean, I'll be honest, like I'm not always on YouTube, right? But at the same time, like I've talked to Troy enough now, and I've seen him on the Facebook group as well. Like he has value, and he passes along value, so he's not just promoting crap. So if you want to support somebody that's genuine, go ahead and support Troy.
And that concludes another insightful episode of Dividend Discussion. I hope you found inspiration and valuable takeaways from our engaging conversation. If you're hungry for more dividend investing wisdom, be sure to subscribe to Dividend Obsession and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with my latest interviews, tips, and strategies. Remember, the journey to financial independence is a marathon, not a sprint. Keep applying the lessons you've learned and stay committed to growing your wealth using dividends. Together, we can create a community of dividend investors sharing knowledge and supporting one another. If you enjoyed this episode, don't hesitate to share it with other investors that are equally passionate about the power of dividends. Let's spread our dividend obsession far and wide. But until next time, see you.